An advert is a piece of paid-for communication which has two main purposes: to inform and to persuade. For example, the first British advert ever broadcast was for Gibbs SR. Adverts are designed to persuade an audience to buy the product. They are paid-for communication, so this means that someone will want you to buy the product they're advertising. They usually advertise things like products, services, films, or brand. And they can be advertised on many different platforms. For example, TV, billboards, magazines, buses, bus shelters, and websites. Adverts are to create awareness for a product. This is so people know of the product and are persuaded to buy it. Other reasons could be to reassure existing customers of quality, so they know they are still buying the best products. Could also be to reassure the trade and sales force the best product, or maybe to get a bigger share of it and do better than their competitors. There are different forms of advertising. This would have been because adverts will steal things from other forms of media. An example of a realist advert is the Coca-Cola Grandpa advert. It fits the formula of a realist advert because there are things that would happen in the adverts that will happen to most people in everyday lives. It also shows the life of the granddad and how calm and relaxing it was, which is what most people want of their lives, really. And Coca-Cola's advert is saying that when you buy Coca-Cola, you will have a calm and relaxing lifestyle, like the man's granddad. An example of an anti-realist advert is the Evian Roller Babies advert. This is because babies can't do these things. However, it's effective because it's weird and funny. This will make people talk about it and remember the brand attached to it because it was so weird. This could also make some people believe that Evian water is so good for you that it could make a baby able to ride roller skates and do that sort of thing. An example of an animated advert is the Coca-Cola animated short. This is an animated, very similar to Disney films and films of that time. This is both to attract a child audience and adult audience. It appeals to the children because it has a fun and friendly look and feel to the advert that easily appeal to children. However, it'll appeal to the adults because of the nostalgia they will feel while watching the advert, because it'll be very reminiscent of Disney films that they watched growing up. This will attach that positive feeling of nostalgia to the product, and in turn when they see it they'll think of their childhood. An example of an advert that is similar to a documentary is Marmite rehoming advert. This advert is filmed using the conventions of a documentary, and even goes as far as to blur the faces of some people. However, they also blurred the face of a dog. So this is obviously also a parody. They would have done this because it's humorous, and that goes well with most adverts. It'll attach a positive emotion to the product. The humour also works well because of the very serious nature of the documentaries it's taking the mick out of. These adverts usually extremely serious. This contrast would cause people to talk about the product more and generate publicity for the brand. An example of a talking heads advert is the advert for the You-Me Drive. This is effective because it shows people's opinions on the products directly to the audience. Also, the way it's filmed focuses on their head and upper torso, and it makes the audience feel like they're actually having a conversation with the person that's being filmed. Then be more likely to trust the person's opinion and actually listen to it because of the language that they use, which is very colloquial. They would value the opinion more because of this, as if it was a friend's opinion telling them. This will make people want to buy the product because when they see the product, they'll think that it was They'll think of it well because of the people in the advert's opinions. An example of a standalone advert is the Cadbury's Gorilla advert. This is standalone because it was only shown once for about 6 months. And because the advert is humorous and really weird, it'll make people talk about it because it's strange and very different to any other advert that was shown then. The fact that it didn't show the product until the very end was very strange for then. It was different. Because of this, people did talk about it a lot. And its sudden disappearance as well equally create conversation and in turn publicity. Even after the advert's been showing, people will still be talking about the brand and the product because of that advert. An example of a series advert is the Daz Cleaner Close adverts. These are filmed with the conventions of soaps, even with each of the adverts ending in a cliffhanger, similar to most episodes of soaps. They even got actors who were in soaps. This will mean that people can easily recognize the actors and understand the themes much quicker because of the actors in it. It's also aiming the people in the actors in the advert at their target audience, because their audience is who the soaps aim at as well, and it'll appeal to those sort of people. One of the reasons they would have chosen to make it similar to a soap, because of the people they're aiming that product at will watch those type of TV shows. And the adverts are part of an ongoing campaign with lots of adverts with a similar style, all set in the cleaner close, similar to soaps which seem to never end. And each advert always has the same structure, which is the same structure as a soap, ending with a reveal and then a cliffhanger. Series adverts could also have ongoing narratives. For example, the BT adverts that have been ongoing for a while now. It follows a family, and then over time the boy moves out and is now living his friend at university. This is to symbolize that BT will always stay with you your whole life, as if it was a family member, and that you can trust BT to not let you down when you need them. An example of a humorous advert is the Godzilla Snickers advert. This advert has Godzilla doing things like ride quad bikes and playing ping pong, which is really out of place, and that is why this advert is funny. Because you just don't see Godzilla ride a quad bike or play ping pong with some people. Having the advert be humorous is good because it'll attach a positive emotion to the company and the product. And when they're in the shops looking at the product, they'll think of the Godzilla on a quad bike. It'll make them happy. It'll make them more likely to buy the product. An example of a surreal advert is the Ribena. I don't know how to describe this advert. It's really strange and confusing to most people. This is good, because it'll make a lot of people talk about it and remember it, remember the product, and remember the advert especially. And this will also appeal to children, because the children will think the bonkersness of it is great, and they'll be really attracted to that just strange owl with the glasses. They'll love it, and this will make them more likely to ask their parents to buy it at the shops. An example of a dramatic advert is the Strongbow sofa delivery advert. This is filmed to the conventions of an action film, and it over-dramatizes the scenario. This is to make the product appealing to men because it emphasizes manliness, what it is to be a bloke. This will make them cut that out. This also allows them to feel like they are doing something exciting and worthwhile, even if it is just delivering sofas. This will make them more likely to buy the product because of this attaching the manliness and emphasis on what it is to be a bloke to the product. An example of a parody advert is the Specsavers Effect advert. This is heavily parodying Lynx or Axe adverts, as it is filmed in a much similar fashion, and it's obviously upscaling the Lynx adverts, having an uncountable amount of women chase after him as he sprays the deodorant. Because of the upscale and exaggeration, you can easily tell that it's a parody of that sort of Lynx advert and not confuse it for a Lynx advert. Um, it's humorous, and that's good because it'll attach a positive emotion, a very positive emotion of humour to the brand of Specsavers to make you more likely to go to Specsavers when you need glasses instead of some other place. It also generates conversation about the brand because there are people who talk about the advert where Specsavers parodied Lynx quite heavily. And this will make them more popular in turn. Adverts tend to steal conventions from other forms of media. However, there are some conventions that almost always stay in adverts. Examples of these are product shot, logo, music, voiceover, text on screen, computer graphics, and special effects. An example of an advert that has borrowed conventions from other forms of media is the Strongbow service delivery advert. It's filmed using the conventions of an action film and has lots of nice to one. For example, it has a lot of close-ups and fast tracking shots. This is to increase tension. It would have been produced this way because the product is aimed at men, and similarly are most action films. So they film with the same conventions, and this will gather the attention of men watching. Another example of an advert that borrows conventions from other forms of media is the Marmite rehoming advert. This advert is filmed with the conventions of a documentary. It's mostly filmed with handheld shots and zooms. This is similar to documentaries of a similar type. It also has those documentaries that have blurring people's faces and even do this to parody this. This would have been done because it is funny and also people would find it funny and more likely to buy their product. Another example of an advert that borrows conventions from other forms of media is the Aviva life insurance advert. This is taking some conventions from dramas because it is filmed with a lot of close-ups and reaction shots. This will have been to capture people's emotions and make people feel empathy for the characters. It's also fairly slow-paced to make you feel more emotional. An example of an advert using a logo is the Snickers Mr. Bean advert. This is because at the end, whilst there's a product shot, the logo is shown in the center of the screen so that you know what the product and the packaging looks like. This advert also uses a product shot at the end under the logo to show the product and the things inside to see if people and maybe the audience want the product. An example of an advert that uses voiceover is this advert for BasePoint. It uses voiceover because it requires a lot of information to be told to the audience, and so to ensure that the audience is listening and hearing the information heard, they use the voiceover. This advert also uses text on screen because there's a lot of information, and in order to make sure that the information gets through to the audience, so they display it visually as well as them listening to it to make sure that it goes through and they understand it. This advert also uses computer graphics to produce images on screen so that there are another visual representation of what voiceover is saying on screen. This is so people do not lose interest to the advert and continue paying attention. An example of an advert that uses special effects is this advert for St. Thomas Hospital. It uses special effects to produce paper hearts to fall on people, and then the people are shown to be happy and smile. This is obviously to show how the hospital affects people without directly showing patients inside the hospital. They have used special effects to produce the hearts because the footage didn't already have it on it, and it would have been easier to produce the hearts via special effects than to control everything about the hearts and what they do. Because if you do it practically, the hearts would have fallen unpredictably and might have not landed how you wanted them to. An example of an advert that uses contemporary music is the Debenhams advert. They use music to attract the attention of their target audience and make sure they are watching it. They also use music to give the advert some audio because dialogue or a voiceover wouldn't fit this style of advert. And so they decided to add music to give the advert substance. This would also bring the attention to the artist because the advert would in turn advertise their song and attach them to a brand, meaning people think of the artist when they think of that brand. An example of an advert that uses add music for an emotional response in this advert for Nationwide. This uses music to bring out an emotional response in people and cuts back on dialogue to focus more on imagery and body language to get across the message, because it would ruin the feel of the advert and break the atmosphere they built up and wouldn't fit the style of advert. The advert is supposed to have many emotional responses with things like happiness and sadness, then relief or happiness. At the end, the producers would have chosen to do this so that people remember the advert because of how hard-hitting the advert is. An example of an advert that uses hidden messages is this T-Mobile advert. This is because it is unclear what the advert is advertising, and you have to try and work it out about what the advert is about. This is to get you thinking about the advert and make it more memorable because you understand what it is at first, but after thinking about it for a while, you understand it. An example of an advert that uses overt messages is this Dettol advert. The message of the advert is obvious: the product is for parents and it kills most bacteria on most surfaces, making them safe to eat without using any bleach. It is obvious and gets to the point. There isn't any point into getting into detail or doing something artistic because they only really care about selling the product, and parents only care about the product and if it's safe around kids. An example of an advert that uses celebrity endorsement is Luke's sport advert. This uses Mo Farah as an endorsement because people aspiring to be like him or want to be professional runners, they will need this product. They also use him because he is a very successful runner and is attached to him to the brand, meaning that they will associate drinking Lucozade sport with being a successful athlete. An example of an advert that uses an emotional response and association is the nationwide scarf advert. This is intentionally sad and upsetting. However, the nationwide employee then helps the family and returns the scarf. This is to build a positive connection with the bank, saying you can trust them and they will always be there to help you no matter how small the problem is. An example of an advert that offers benefits is this Olay advert. This uses benefits that the product offers as a selling point, saying that the product will make you look younger and more wrinkles. This is good because people who worry about these sort of things will be interested in the advert and then the product. An example of an advert that uses advantages of similar products is the Bosch Tiger advert. This uses the fact that their vacuum is much quieter than other products, and they claim it is so quiet that you can vacuum around a sleeping tiger and not wake it up. This will work because vacuums are the single most loudest thing in the universe, and a quieter vacuum would always be good. An example of a product with a USP is a Maybelline mascara advert. The USP of this product is that it is the only one to have a new gel. This means that it can give you bigger eyelashes, and is the only one that can do this because of the brush. This is good because people will be attracted to that product because of the advantage it have over the other products. An example of an advert that's not a lifestyle is the Volkswagen Darth Vader advert. This is because for most of the advert you don't actually see the product. However, you do see a house and a family, and this is what the advert is really selling you. Son who is obsessed with Star Wars, wife doesn't have to do any work because you can afford a big house and a calm family dog. Also, when you do see the car, the man gets out in an office clothes, so presumably he has a well-paid job. This is the lifestyle that the advert is selling, and are saying, if you get this car, you will live like this. An example of brand identity is pretty much any Apple advert. They barely ever advertise their products and its features, and instead choose to either highlight on one that is exclusive to just their brand or advertise the brand itself, saying that they are the best and the most popular brand. The ASA are the regulators for the advertising in the UK. They apply the advertising codes, which are written by the Committees of Advertising Practice. Their work includes proactively taking action against misleading or harmful or offensive adverts and dealing with complaints. Some of the ways they regulate adverts is the conduct service, where there is either unsatisfactory compliance with the codes or if the social concerns are about that sector, as well as actively checking ads. The ASA handle complaints about TV shopping channels and broadcasting during commercial breaks. However, Ofcom deal with the following: a trailer for a program, a sponsorship message, a reference to a product, brand, or service during a product, an interactive service using premium rate telephone lines or text messages, promoting a political cause or point of view. The BCAP code is the code that all adverts must follow, and this includes all the rules for advertising that all companies in the UK must follow. There's a lot of information on how to broadcast adverts on about.com. Here you'll find information on what you will need to do. Other information needed for adverts could be things like research agencies, where they will give you profiles for your audience and what sort of things they like. You can also use websites like Barb or Raja to find this information out. A rate card is a document which has the prices and descriptions for various and as placements options available from a media outlet, and things like length of advert, where the advert is aired, the target audience, and the region will affect the price. For example, if you wanted to show an advert in London region at the same time as a movie or drama, that would cost you £13,270, and this is for a 30-second advert. Audience measurement panels show how many people are in an audience. This is good for advertisers because they can get a feel on how many people will be watching or listening to their advert. An example of this would be the Radio 4 audience panel. Ratings are good because they can judge how many people watch or listen to a particular show and what sort of people they are. So they can put an advert out that will be going to the right audience. For example, because of Barb, you could see that X Factor has the lowest number of viewers with only 5.4 million. Face-to-face interviews are good because they can get an opinion directly from people. This means that they can get feedback straight from their target audience. An example of this would be the DJS research, because they use face-to-face for most of their market research. Focus groups are good because they give feedback on a product or advert, and this way they can test if the advert will be a success or not. An example of this focus group would be the focus group for Coca-Cola Zero. They gave their opinions on the product and if they would buy it. Questionnaires are good because they give a lot of people's opinions very quickly. They sort through them just as quick as an example of questionnaires would be the BBC questionnaire, where you go and give an opinion on a show and how the BBC operates. Program profiles are a profile of what the program is and what it's about. So this would be stuff like clips and episodes on where the episode will be aired. For example, this profile for Gardener's World. This is good for advertising because you can see what the program is about and get a feel for the type of people watching these shows, so you know if that's when you want to be showing your advert. Television research agencies, these are good because they tell you how many people watched a program and how long for. This is easy to access and read. An example of this would be Bar, which tell you how many people watched certain shows on certain channels. Adverts are most effective when they are aimed directly at their target audience, and the best way to know your target audience and who they are is demographics and psychographics. An advert that has been aimed at their demographic and psychographic is the Ribena advert. Demographic is a few things: standard occupation classification, which is what job they have and what do they do. Now for the Ribena advert, this is aimed at kids who are in school. Geodemographic is where they live, and like country and county, that sort of thing. Now this advert is usually aimed at kids, which things that can be recognised no matter where you are and live. Also age. This is obvious for this advert. I would say is aimed at 6 to 11-year-olds because of its style and weirdness, which would put off older people like 12 plus. And the last is gender. Again, obvious for this advert. I feel it's not really aimed at a particular gender, choosing the colours like purple, which are rich and appeal to both genders. Psychographics is a bit more complicated. It's more about who they are and what drives them. So, do they have a family, and are they doing everything to supply for them and keep them alive, or do you aspire for something greater? And that's their end goal. And for this advert, it's aimed at children who will just go to school and come home, play video games maybe, play outside, eat tea and go to sleep, then do it again. And this aims at them perfectly with the toys and animals not meaning anything, just all being a bit random. This will easily get the attention of kids and implant into their brains and make them want Ribena.